We continue now at the top of Daf Nun Hey Amud Aleph in Meseches Kiddushin. This is Kiddushin Daf 55a. The Gemara says, Tanan Hasam, we learned in a Mishnah over there. This is a Mishnah from Meseches Shkolim. Behema shenimtzas mi Yerushalayim leMigdal Eder. If you find an animal between Yerushalayim and Migdal Eder, uchamidasa l'chol ruach, in the same distance in every direction from Yerushalayim. The point over here is you find this animal, and it's likely that this animal is a carbon zecharim ola. So if it's a male animal, you assume it's carbon ola. Nikevos, if it's a female animal, zivche shlamim, then you assume that it's a carbon shlamim. And the Gemara says, Ela zecharim olos hu dehave zivche shlamim lo have. If it's a male animal, is it true that it's only possible that it's an ola? It's not possible that it's a shlamim? Of course it's possible that it's a shlamim as well. What does the Mishnah mean? And the Gemara says, Amar Raboshi says, Hacha b'balachuv b'demeihen askinon. The case over here is that the person wants to obligate himself in their value. He wants to bring a carbon in lieu of this animal that cannot be brought as a carbon. He wants to bring one instead, so the mizbeach will not be at a loss, so to speak. And the Gemara says, V'hachi kamar, and this is what the Mishnah means to say, Chayshinon shema olos. Rav Oshia is saying, if a person wants to obligate himself to bring substitute animals for the animal here, so then he has to assume that maybe he has to have a concern that maybe this was a carbon ola. He can't just bring a carbon shlamim, he has to bring a carbon ola as well. V'Rebbi Meir, and the point over here of bringing this is that this Mishnah in Shkolim follows the opinion of Rabbi Meir in our Mishnah, the Amar, because Rabbi Meir in our Mishnah said, Hekdish b'meizid mischalel. He said, let's say a person is mekadesh a woman with hekdish, and he does that on purpose, so it's mischal, it goes l'chulin, and it's a good kiddushin if you do that on purpose. And so therefore over here as well, you're able to redeem this animal again because you're doing it essentially b'meizid, and that again, that will be mischalel. And Rashi explains, Hachi garsinon tanan hasam, we learned in a Mishnah over there, Behema shenimtzas mi Yerushalayim leMigdal Eder, zecharim olos, mishum dechayshinon shema mi Yerushalayim yotzos. The point over here is there's a concern, maybe this animal left from Yerushalayim, v'rov behemos hayotzos mimena, and most animals that leave Yerushalayim, zevachim heim, they are karbonos. V'ikol esfuge b'chol zevachim shiru'uya lehem. Now we have a doubt over here, any carbon that it's possible that this animal is. Hilkach zachar dechazi la'ola, therefore if it's a male animal, and it's fit to be a carbon ola, misafkal ola, so you have a suffix that it might be an ola. Well, the Kamon Parachala, the Gemara will ask on this as we saw. Nekevos zivche shlamim, if it's a female, then it's an assumption it might be a carbon shlamim. Di'ilu ba'ola, lekel esfuke. Certainly a female, it cannot be a carbon ola, it is a carbon shlamim, that's the doubt over here. Shlamim lo have, the Gemara asks, well, if it's a male, it can't be a shlamim. Bitmiyot, so the Gemara is asking with wonder, Dilma shlamim, maybe it is a shlamim. Ve'echi makriv la'ola, how can you bring this animal as a carbon ola? And the Gemara says, Amar Raboshi says, B'balachov b'demeyan askinon. We're talking about where the person wants to obligate himself to bring his own carbon, the value of this animal. Kilomar ihi vaday lo karva, meaning to say, the Gemara is saying, for sure the animal cannot be brought as a carbon. That's not a question. We don't know that this is a carbon. V'hachi kamar, what it means is as follows. In ba'adam zeh lasos latakana, let's say the person wants to make a solution for the mizbeach, that the mizbeach shouldn't lose out. U'bo lekabel alatzmo chov kol dameh shu b'safek. He wants to take upon himself the value, its entire value of this possible doubt. He wants this animal, essentially he wants to redeem this animal and make it chulin. And then he's going to take the money and make that kodesh. So if the animal's a male, then he has to not only donate the value of a carbon shlamim, but the value of an ola as well. We're concerned maybe it's a carbon ola. And the Gemara said that the Mishnah in Shkolim Rabbi Meir he Amar. It's the same sheet of Rabbi Meir in our Mishnah. Amar b'masnisin, Rabbi Meir says in our Mishnah, Hekdish b'meizin mischala. Let's say a person has money of Hekdish, and then he uses it for Kiddushin purposes, that money goes l'chulin. And if it goes l'chulin, essentially it's a good Kiddushin. V'yachol zel hotzion l'chulin meizit. So over here also, you could take this animal and you can make it go l'chulin, even though you're doing it b'meizid. V'yitbesu hadamim b'kdushasam. And the money will get the Kedusha of the animal. V'al yedei tanai. And now Rashi points out, you're going to use a condition over here, because you're really bringing two animals for the one animal. So you do the condition as follows. You bring two sets of money. One of the bundles of money will be for a carbon ola. One will be for a shlamim. V'yomer, and he'll say as follows. Im olahi, if it's an ola, harehi mischalelas, I'll do the money from the animal will go on this money. the kedusha rather from the animal will go on this money if it is a korban ola. And the second bundle of money that I have, that'll just be a donation of korban shlamim. Vim shlamim, and if this animal that I found is a shlamim, then the kedusha of the animal will go on the money that's designated for shlamim. And then the second one again, the second bundle of money, that will be a donation of a korban ola. That's what he should do. And the point over here again is that the Mishnah follows Rabbi Meir in our Mishnah. The Mishnah in Shlamim follows Rabbi Meir's opinion. And Tosas over here says, Amar Rav Oshia b'balochav b'demehen. Rav Oshia says the case over here is that the person is obligating himself with their value. Perish B'Kuntris Rashi explains, Ihi vadai lo mikrava. You certainly can't bring this animal as a korban. Umayri b'bal is chayev b'demeim, and the person wants to obligate himself with the value of the animal. Peirush Adam Zehamotza, meaning to say, the person who found the animal, Kibal Olav L'Sakin Kalasafik, he wants to fix the holdout. Shalev Varotzi Lahotzia L'Chulin, he wants to have this animal go L'Chulin. V'achi Kamar Chayshin and Shama Olos V'yavi Beis Behemos. Again, it might be an Ola, you bring two animals, or Beis Davim, 2 sets of money. V'yomerim Zuola to Mechul El Salzu, like Rashi said. You say if it's an Ola, the money, the Kedusha should go on this money. V'acheres Teishal Min Nedava, the rest of the money should be Shlamim of Nedava. V'im Haisazu Shlamim, and if this animal's a Shlam, Te Mechul El Salzu, then it goes on that money. V'acheres Te Nedvasola, and the rest should be a Nedava of an Ola. For Rabbi Meir, he damar hektish, and it's according to Rabbi Meir that says b'mezid you can be mischal the hektish. Mashma mitoch perish hakuntris. Now Tosas points out it sounds like from Rashi that tzarich sheichal hakedusha she'al habehema hanimtzis alosa shehevi. The kedusha of the animal that is found is now going on the new animal that's being brought. Uvedere chilul dafkin. The way you're redeeming the animal is specifically through chilul, meaning again you're taking this animal and it goes l'chulin, and you're taking the kedusha from this animal, you're redeeming that kedusha and putting it on the money and putting it on the new animal. The Kasav Rabbi Meir deniftin tamimim, and the Gemara essentially is saying that Rabbi Meir is saying you can redeem this animal that might be a korban even though it has no blemishes. The Kashan Satosa says that's difficult. Sharei lo matzino the Sav Rabbi Meir the tamimim niftin yoser mishar tanaim. We don't find anywhere where Rabbi Meir says that if you have an animal that is tamim, that has no blemish, that it can be redeemed more than other tanoim. Where do we find such a shita? All Rabbi Meir is saying in our Mishnah is, let's say you have money of hektish and you use it b'mezid for kiddushin purposes, so the money is nischalal. That has nothing to do with redeeming an animal that's a korban that has no blemish. V'lo shayich zeh klal b'pluksa didei Rabbi Yehuda. That has nothing to do with the machlokas in our Mishnah between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. So the real chiddush over here that you're redeeming the animal while it has no blemishes, that has nothing to do with Rabbi Meir. Lakach perishri, and so therefore Tosa says that's why the explains the liolam kasavar bialmod tetmimim einam niftim. Really, you're not able to redeem an animal that has no blemishes. Kagon derech hilul if you're doing a derech hilul. V'hacha ma'irish and eskavin legozla v'leknosa miyad hamakdish. Here the case happens to be where the person actually has intention of stealing it and taking it, acquiring it from the person who was makdish it. V'lizchos ba, he wants to take possession of it. V'lishanos ba, and he wants to make a shinai with it. He wants to use it. V'chiyai gavna shari, in such a situation it's permitted. V'achar shotzia lechulin, and then what happens is after he did this and now he took it out to be chulin, Allah b'daito lachav b'demein kedefarishas. Then he decides he wants to make it up to the mizbeach, so to speak, and take upon himself to bring a similar animal. But it does not work through a regular redemption because again, you're not able to redeem an animal that doesn't have any blemishes. But the Gemara continues, Ukedushas haguf mi mischalel. Is Kedushas haguf really mischalel? And Rashi explains, Ukedushas haguf to Kodshe Mizbeach. Again, this is talking about Kodshe Mizbeach. This animal is not just hektish, it's hektish that's meant to go on the Mizbeach. Mi mischaleles below mum. Is it really mischaleles without a blemish? V'atnan, but we learned in a Mishnah, ein moel achar moel b'mukdash, and you do not have me'ila after me'ila by hekdish, ela b'behema uv'chlishares bilvad, only by animals and by klishares. By no other kinds of hekdish can you have me'ila after me'ila. And the Mishnah explains, Keitzad how so, hayarochev al gave behema, let's say a person is riding on an animal, bochaveiro v'rachav, then his friend comes and rides, bochaveiro v'rachav, then another friend comes and rides on the animal, kula malu, so they have all committed me'ila. By animals you can have me'ila after me'ila. Hayashosa b'koshel zav, let's say he's drinking from a golden cup, b'chaveru v'shasa, again the assumption is it's hekdish, and then his friend comes and drinks from it, b'chaveru v'shasa, then another friend comes and drinks, kula malu, so in these cases again, they have all committed me'ila. And Rashi explains, Ein moel achar moel, there's no me'ila after me'ila, ein shtei me'ilo zu achar zu bekeren echad shel hektish. If you have one item of hektish, you can't have two me'ilas one after the other. Why? Dekeven shemoel bo harishan yatzel l'chulin, because once the first person commits me'ila, the item goes l'chulin. But there are exceptions to that. Ela behema shel kadshe mizbeach. For example, an exception is, if you have an animal that's meant to go on the mizbeach, haru'uya l'karbon, it's fit to be a carbon, so then you could have me'ila after me'ila, lefi she'ein yotzel l'chulin keshit tamima, because when it doesn't have a blemish, it does not go l'chulin. V'chein kli shares, and the same is true by kli shares. And so the point of the Gemara is asking, how are we saying again, even if we're within the sheet of Rabbi Meir over here, it doesn't help anything, because it's kedushas haguf, it's a situation of kadshe mizbeach, and as we said, there's me'ila achar me'ila because it doesn't go l'chulin. So how are we saying over here that the animal goes l'chulin? And the Gemara answers, Hahi Rabbi Yehuda. The Gemara says that Mishnah is actually Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is the one that says that it doesn't go l'chulin, but Rabbi Meir. But over here we're talking about Rabbi Meir, and Rabbi Meir would actually disagree. He would say that even kadshe mizbeach can go l'chulin. And Rashi explains, Hahi Rabbi Yehuda hi midaktani ein moel achar moel. From the fact that it says there's no me'ila after me'ila, alma mikamohu denafik l'chulin. So you see that the first one, that did go l'chulin. Afal gav deshogihu, even though it was by mistake. The imezid like a me'ila, there's no me'ila b'mezid. Now therefore, if we're talking about shogig, and we're talking about the fact that it went l'chulin, v'hai svara l'Rabbi Yehuda, now that really follows Rabbi Yehuda's shita. The shamat le da'amar b'masnisin, because he's the one that said in our Mishnah, hektish b'shogig mischala. That was the whole case according to Rabbi Yehuda. A person does Kiddushin, and it's b'shogeg, he uses hektish by mistake, so it's mischalel. Again, according to Rabbi Meir, that's not true. According to Rabbi Meir, if a person tries to use money of hektish for Kiddushin purposes b'shogeg, it's not mischalel, and it's not a good Kiddushin, as we explained. And so therefore that Mishnah, which says ein moel achar moel, that's following Rabbi Yehuda's shita. And that's Rabbi Yehuda who also holds, when it comes to kadshe mizbeach, that it doesn't go l'chulin. But Rabbi Meir, but this Mishnah that we quoted above is Rabbi Meir. Hach masnisin de shkolim de vehema shenimtzis, meaning the Mishnah in shkolim about the animal that's found, which we're saying is going to chulin, and you're redeeming its kedusha. Ki Rabbi Meir, that follows Rabbi Meir. Mukminan law, that's going to follow Rabbi Meir. Damar hektish mischalel b'mezid. He says hektish is mischalel b'mezid, and that's what we're talking about in this Mishnah in shkolim b'mezid. Ve'afilu kedushas haguf nami mischalel. Even kedushas haguf is also mischalel according to Rabbi Meir. But the Gemara continues, Mid Rabbi Yehuda nishmal Rabbi Meir, but from Rabbi Yehuda we can really understand what the halach is according to Rabbi Meir by Kedushas Haguf. La'avama Rabbi Yehuda hektish b'shogeg mischalel, because what does Rabbi Yehuda say? Rabbi Yehuda says that when you have hektish b'shogeg, as we said, it's mischalel, or Kedushas Haguf, lo mischalel, but yet Rabbi Yehuda says that doesn't apply to Kedushas Haguf. So Rabbi Meir nami, so say the same thing according to Rabbi Meir. Afagav de hektish b'mezid mischalel, even though Rabbi Meir holds that hektish b'mezid is mischalel, but still that shouldn't extend to Kedushas Haguf. Kedushas Haguf, lo mischala, by Kedushas Haguf, it shouldn't be mischalel, and so therefore we're back to our question, even if we're saying it's Rabbi Meir, but still, how is the Kedusha mischalel if you're talking about Kedushas Haguf? And the Gemara answers, Hasam over there, lo kamechavin lafukinu lechulin. The person's not having an intention to take it out to chulin. Again, that's by Rabbi Yehuda, it's all b'shogeg, but over here where it's b'mezid, kamechavin lafukinu lechulin, the person is actually having an intention that it should go from being hektish to chulin, and so therefore, according to Rabbi Meir, again, it's going to work even by Kedushas Haguf. But still the Gemara asks, Eimer de Shamad Leil Rabbi Meir b'kadshei kachim, but maybe Rabbi Meir only says that by what kind of hektish? By something that's kachei kachim. There are different kinds of karbonos. For example, a karbonola is kachei kachim, that is the holiest kind of carbon. Maybe that's only true by kachei kachim. However, b'kachim kalim, but if you have a carbon, an animal of lesser kedusha, let's say a carbon shlamim of an individual, so mi Shamad Leil, do we really hear that from Rabbi Meir that even in that situation, such a carbon is able to be mischalel? And the Gemara responds, Amar le'ahume Rabbanan, one of the Rabbanan said to him, if Rabbi Yaakov Shemei, and his name is Rabbi Yaakov, kal v'chomer, no, you can make a kal v'chomer. Kachei kachim mischalelim, if it's true by kachei kachim, if they can be mischalel. Kachim kalim lo kol shekain, so certainly kachim kalim, it's a lesser kedusha, certainly that can go lechulin. And Rashi explains, uparchinan mid Rabbi Yehuda nishmal Rabbi Meir. The Gemara then asks, from Rabbi Yehuda we can understand according to Rabbi Meir that it shouldn't work by kedushas haguf bechilul mezid, meaning Rabbi Meir when you're trying to do it on purpose. To hapluksayu less elab mezid v'shogeg. The whole machlokes Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir is by shogeg versus mezid. Aval b'kedusha Kedushas Haguf or Kedushas Damim ain't machlokas beineim. They're not arguing in terms of what goes l'chulin, Kedushas Haguf, Kedushas Damim. That's not a machlokas. Bo so hektish ain't mischal Rabbi Yehuda b'shogeg, ain't mischal b'mezel Rabbi Meir. They're just saying in that type of hektish, which is not mischal according to Rabbi Yehuda b'shogeg, is not going to be mischal b'mezel according to Rabbi Meir. Lavamar Rabbi Yehuda hektish b'shogeg mischalal. Again, Rabbi Yehuda said that hektish b'shogeg is mischalal. V'hu ikar chilul v'kamar diktushas haguf lo mischal in shogeg. According to Rabbi Yehuda, chilul is specifically b'shogeg, and it doesn't apply to kedushas haguf. So the Rabbi Meir nami, the same should be true according to Rabbi Meir. To come ikar chilul hektish b'mezid. He says the chilul of hektish really takes place when you use it b'mezid. Kedushas haguf lo amar denaschal. Again, he shouldn't say that. It shouldn't extend to kedushas haguf. Umeshani, and the Gemara then answers hasam lo mechavin la'afukinu l'chulin. Over there, the intention is not to take it to chulin. Kolomar, meaning to say chilul demezid Rabbi Meir. The chilul that happens on purpose, according to Rabbi Meir, adiva michil the shogeg Rabbi Yehuda. It actually is greater. It goes further than the chil of shogeg according to Rabbi Yehuda. The ilu shogeg lo mechavin la'afukinu l'chulin. Because when it comes to shogeg, that's not the person's intention that the item should become chulin. Ugzeres hakasav, it's just a gzeres hakasav. Midam chayvi rachmana karvan meila. From the fact you bring a karvan meila, so it shows that it becomes chulin. Hilkach kedushas haguf lo mischal. Therefore, that doesn't apply to kedushas haguf. Aval chilul mezid Rabbi Meir. But when it comes to doing it on purpose, according to Rabbi Meir, mechavin la'afukinu l'chulin. The person's whole intention is that it should be chulin. Hilkach kedushas haguf nami mischal. Therefore, it extends even kedushas haguf. That also becomes chulin. But then the Gemara asked, Eimer de shamat le Rabbi Meir ad Rabbi Oshia parach. The Gemara's question here is on Rabbi Oshia. To ukma ahi de shkolim Rabbi Meir, because again, Rabbi Oshia said that Mishnah in Shkolim is following Rabbi Meir. But Eimer de shamat le Rabbi Meir damar hektish b'mezid mischal b'kotshei kotshim. Maybe Rabbi Meir only said hektish is mischal b'mezid by kotshei kotshim. Kegon kotshei bedek habayis, because kotshei kotshim is similar to kotshei bedek habayis. Kotshei bedek habayis, something that a person was makdish in order to repair the actual Beis HaMikdash. So that's similar to kotshei kotshim. The hainu stam hektish, kotshei bedek habayis is stam hektish. Vuadin le kotshei kotshim, that's similar to kotshei kotshim. The kulu hava le gavoa. What's unique about kotshei kotshim is it all goes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ke kotshei bedek habayis. In that sense, it's like kotshei bedek habayis. But bekotshim kalim yishamat, who says that should apply to kotshim kalim? Vahida behema ikal esfuke nami bekotshim kalim. This animal that was found might be kotshim kalim. Vehecho shamat le Rabbi Meir, the mischal b'mezid. So how do you know that Rabbi Meir would say that it's mischal b'mezid? And then the Gemara answered, according to on behalf of Rabbi Oshia, the Gemara answered, no, it does extend even to kotshim kalim from a kal v'chomer. And the Gemara continues, Itmar Nami, it was stated as well, Amar Reb Chama Rabbi Akiva, Reb Chama Rabbi Akiva says, Amar Rabbi Yossi Reb Chanina, that Rabbi Yossi Reb Chanina says, Omer Hoyer Rabbi Meir would say, Hektish b'mezid mischal, b'shogeg in mischal. When it comes to Hektish b'mezid, it is mischal, it does go to chulin, but b'shogeg not. And Echad kotshei kotshim, v'echad kotshim kalim, whether you're talking about kotshei kotshim or kotshim kalim, kal v'chomer, kotshei kotshim mischalalim, kotshim kalim lo kol shekain. It's a kal v'chomer. If kotshei kotshim is mischal, so certainly kotshim kalim should be mischal. And we will note over here that instead of the Amar Rabbi Chama Rabbi Akiva, the Mesoras Hashas notes Bechsav Yad Amar Rabbi Chanina Amar Marukva, that it should be Amar Rabbi Chanina Amar Marukva Omer Haya. And then he also notes Efshar Detzarach Lomar Barukva. Maybe it's not Amar Marukva, but it's Barukva. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Nun Hey Amud Beis.